So great time on state television. It is Morning Ride.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Ride. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday morning.
I did something very different. I knew you wanted me to go ahead with my name and everything, but I had to wait for you. I had to catch you by surprise. And what's going on in Nigeria though? We've been caught by surprise, even though we expect things to be different. Most times we have been caught by surprise. By the way, my name is Francis Ofula, welcoming you here on behalf of the board, management and staff of this beautiful station. And now I think you introduce yourself properly.
And I am Blessing Osiawada. I'm so excited to be here this morning.
We are really excited. It's a beautiful Friday, the 9th day of August. The year I always say is blessed, 2024. You know, those who are lovers of faith would say if you speak it, it will take reality. As I'm speaking blessing upon this year, despite all the challenges that we have been bedeviled with in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, some of which include scarcity of funds. I want to say scarcity of funds, not even about the hardships, scarcity of funds. Because when you have so much money in your hands, but you can buy so little, it means there is scarcity of funds. And then there are reactions from people, whether it's via protest, whether it's via clamoring, whether it's via talking on radio and even having beer parlor conversations, if they can even afford a bottle of beer. People have been talking, yet actions seem to be little or very gradual.
I don't think I have faith, but then calling this year a blessed year, I think I'll leave Nigerians to describe what this year has been for them, because we have just 4 months to go to the end of 2024, and so far since this year began, I don't know what to call this year. I have faith, I have hope that things will get better, but then it's been a really challenging year, I must say the truth. I have to be blunt, I have to be as honest as possible. This year, 2024, so far for the country, we're just, I don't know how we do it really, but we're just pushing. We just, wake up every morning and then we keep going and going and going. And that's the only thing I'll keep telling Nigerians to do, to just keep having hope that things will get better and keep pushing, really, because a lot is happening.
And that's indeed the slogan of this particular administration, renewed hope. We really hope that at the end of the day, this light at the end of the tunnel, we shall witness it. We shall indeed leave this darkness and see the light. 2 years after Muhammadu Buhari was elected as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that was 2017, the incumbent president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was certain that just 2 years after, Nigerians should not expect Uhuru or some form of El Dorado. Well, he said, for over 16 years back then, Nigerians had faced the PDP administration, and they should give the APC more time. Really, that administration, the former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, lasted for a good 8 years. And we are in year 1, right, of the Tinubu administration. We're still wondering if the time is enough to fix the damages that is supposedly said to be caused by the PDP administration.
It's obvious. They've said 1 year is not enough, 1 year and a few months is not enough, and it's just now that Wole Soyinka is coming out to speak up.
He's speaking up.
Yeah, he's speaking up. He actually spoke about the president's speech, and he was totally against it. He said the president did not address the needs of the people. So it's just 1 year and a few months, and the APC is saying, give us more time. Remember, the president's daughter came out to say Nigerians should be patient to the end of this first tenure before they come out to protest. But I don't think I'm not interested in judging the administration, right? I know that yes, you can perform magic in a year, or you can perform magic in 2 years or 3 years, but why do more damage? If you can't perform magic, if you can't turn around the situation of the country, then don't do more damage. That's all we're asking. Don't come up with policies that are anti-people. Don't come up with policies that would make the people go through more sufferings, more struggles and pain. So if you can't change it, then just keep managing it the way we're managing it. Don't come up to make it worse, because that's what we're seeing right now. If you look at the cost of everything in the market, you look at the cost of fuel, the cost of transportation, it's worse than it was last year. So if you can't change it, though that's what you ought to do, because when you came into power, when you were campaigning, you promised us change. You said our hope was going to be renewed. You spoke a lot during your campaigns. You made Nigerians, those that supported you, you made them feel that you were coming to work. Even those that did not support you, they had this assurance, and then
somehow,
we're like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt that this man is known for what he did in Lagos State. So we're expecting you to come and do something like that in Nigeria. So if you can't do anything, to change the country, to make it good. Don't make it worse. That's what we're asking.
Look, bearing in mind that the world is becoming a very serious global village, people have seen how India had to protest over their leader until he was removed from power. Matter of fact, he fled from the country. Now Prime Minister taking over to run the affairs of the country for the time being. Nigerians would even be more gingered, believing that if they keep on protesting, things might change. But what is most important is that our mechanisms in the country need to start working. I'm talking about the legislative chamber, the judiciary, they all have to function to checkmate the executive. Until they function properly, we would have an executive that is absolutely powerful and absolutely corrupt. We also know that despite all this hardship, Nigerians are people who understand that from bitterness comes healing, from pain comes healing. A typical example is that if you have a cut in your hand or your leg and you apply any substance that would cause some kind of pain, there's just feeling that you're going to get better. If you take a drug that is very bitter, smelly, and a little bit not so comfortable, there's a feeling that the drug is more effective or potent. And that's the way Nigerians feel normally. But then Nigerians will not even feel satisfied, notwithstanding, if while taking this bitter pill by our doctor, who has the same symptoms, supposedly, that we are facing, we see the doctor having a very good bottle of soda and having a swell time. That has been the case of Nigeria. While we're swallowing this bitter pill, applying this very tough, hot substance on our cuts, we're seeing those who are administering all these substances having a swell time and claiming they have the same injury that we have. That should not be the order of the day.
Yeah.
The executive must cut the cost of governance.
And the legislature as well.
Yes, they
The
should. And they should be
legislature,
honest about
at
it.
this point, I think Nigerians should even shift their focus from the executive to the legislature, because if you look at what the Senate president said, I am expecting Nigerians to call out the Senate president, and he owes Nigerians an apology for that statement that he made. It's really absurd that we have representatives that really do not care about us. Representatives that are just denying what their basic salary is. They're coming out now to say it's not 900,000 naira, but they said they were going to cut their salary, their basic salary, by 50%. They've not done that. So they're playing with the intelligence of Nigerians. So I think Nigerians at this point should actually pay, look
More
at
attention.
more attention to the legislature.
Look at your
because
representative.
they are really not representing us. And even if you don't want to represent us, they don't come out to what's the word now? Come out to make statements that will add salt to our injuries. The Senate president really, I do not know. I have never seen a Senate president like this before.
We hope that things get better. Maybe I even look at him as a newbie, matter of fact.
Even if he's a newbie,
no,
if you don't know what you're going there to
Senate
do.
president, for instance, he has been acting like he's so experienced, like he knows it all.
He's not.
He's spoken to people with
He's
so
not.
much disrespect. But he was just a member of the executive some years back, and he's still somehow given the impression that he's still clustered with the interest of the executive,
It's
that
so
the interest of
obvious.
the people.
Yeah.
And that is a very painful thing
Very
to
painful.
even observe in the first place. So we're really calling on the Nigerian government, all of them involved, talking about the legislative, the executive, and judiciary, to begin to play their part. Also, at state levels and at local government levels, there should be actions that are honest and sincere. I said honest and sincere to really buttress my point, and I'm saying that they should give them their best, absolutely, to ensure that those in their state or those in their locality get the dividends of democracy. Whether you're a governor, or you're a local government chairman, or you are a councillor, you must represent the people. Because I understand that some governors decide to swing the whole blame to the federal government. It's your fault. It's your fault this is not going right. It's your fault this is not happening. But if you begin to put action in your little ways, if you begin to become more innovative, things can get better in your own state. So this is calling on governors, as many of them that can perhaps watch us, or members of the executive that can see us, to begin to play their part properly to ensure that the people get dividends of democracy. The cry from some quarters calling for military is an aberration. It is an insult to this treasure that we were looking for years past. The heroes past and some present fought for democracy, only to have some years after, we're seeing youths cry out to have the military. How can Israel leave Egypt and people are begging to return to Egypt? That should not be the order of the day. So democracy must not just be protected by the people alone, but by those who are the helm of affairs. I mean, by the members of the executive, members of the judiciary, and of course the members of the legislative arm of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, both at federal and state levels.
Indeed.
You're watching Morning Ride. It is Delta Television, the people's pride. When we come back, we shall find out the biggest trends on X. Do stay with us.
morning and welcome to another edition of Extract. Remember, I'm your host, Tegoro J. And with me this beautiful morning, I have Francis and Blessing.
Good morning to you,
Good
Tiga.
morning.
Good morning, Tega.
So today we're going to be diving in quickly and we're going to talk about the biggest trends on X this week. And we're going to be starting off with something that is on our TV right now, the Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah. So hashtag Toby Amusun was trending. Because I'm watching some parts of it. As Olympics, the Nigerian women have actually shown us that they can be prevalent even with the female basketball.
Yeah.
I watched their match with USA and they really tried. They really tried, but eventually they lost the match. But they were the only African team to qualify. They beat number 3 ranked Australia in their first game during the Olympics. They beat the number 5 ranked Canada to reach the knockouts, and they were the first African team to play in an Olympic quarter-final. That's a big achievement for Nigerians. And then they were the best ever finish by an African team at the Olympics, both male or female. So we're really proud of the Tigress. They really went and showed all out.
Yeah.
They tried.
They did.
And then it also came to a reminder that Rena Wakamada is the coach of the Tigress.
Yeah.
She was just appointed head coach just 30 months ago, making her the first woman in history to take on this role. Now she's the first coach to lead an African basketball team to 2 wins in a single Olympic game, and the first coach to lead an African team, either male or female, to the quarterfinals of the tournament.
Well, this might be what happened in Nigeria in 1994, football-wise, when
Yes.
the Super Eagles would shock the world and do great things. You know, winning great teams that nobody expected that it would defeat. Also happened in 1998 when the Super Eagles of Nigeria defeated Spain, despite the entire world thinking that Spain was not going to give Nigeria a chance, and going on to win 2 games during that competition. You know, this is good. However, this should be maintained because that's the point I'm
Yes.
trying to drive at. Somehow Nigeria started all, even because we're mostly familiar with football. Nigeria started all of this continent. Maybe another country might have started, but we start getting most things, start achieving most things. But what we do not do is to sustain the tempo. What we do not do is remain giants of Africa. So I want this particular feat to be maintained. Well, we are not always after winning much time. Sometimes you just have to lose to get better. Spain played against Nigeria sometime in the youth competition, youth championship. I think that was at Lagos. The same Spanish side in football that lost to Nigeria grew up to win the World Cup years after. It means that sometimes it's not just about winning at that tender level. It's about growing and winning at a major or massive level. So congrats to the Nigerian D-Tigers team. I want them to win more games. I want them to, most importantly, consolidate this particular achievement in terms of their own ability to show their skills and talents. That's what I want them to do. I just wanted to preserve it. Then for Toby Amusa, well, I just want to say congrats to everyone who has put in so much work at the Olympics, although I'm not so impressed at our performance so far. I mean, somehow we look to be, it seems like we're now celebrating mediocrity, not to take anything away from our competitors out there. They've put in their best, but it's not even their fault entirely. The fact that we want to reap where we did not sow in Nigeria is a problem. If you look at the Tigers team that we're celebrating, you find that most of those athletes there are mostly from other parts of the world. They've been practicing their craft outside. And what we are seeing is a reflection of globalization. And the fact that many Nigerians are jackpotting, leaving to other countries. And some are just interested in still trying to represent their homes. That's what you're seeing, how they happen. Most of the athletes do not get their trainings entirely from Nigeria. They get it all over the world. You would not reap where you do not sow. So the moment Nigerians begin to go back to the drawing board, begin to train their own, then things can get better. This can only work a little while. Because these men who are from other countries of the world and helping Nigeria to participate, they know how systems work. They know that you deserve this for putting in this. You get this for doing that. And they don't get it when they come to Nigeria. We always go to football and see some examples because that's what we are mostly familiar with. the football player Mbappe, his father brought him all the way from France to Cameroon to play football, and they were asking for some money, and the man took his son back to France, and they took the boy for free. Today he's one of the biggest players in the world, one of the authority in football, as the case may be. Those are the problems in African countries. Those are part of the problems with Nigeria. We do not know how to do things properly. Even most of these athletes did not get proper treatment before this competition. We had issues about logistics and issues about organization just before this competition. So I give a big well done to the athletes, but the Nigerian system needs to function if we want to have any stake in global competitions.
Speaking more on what you said, like our cyclists at the Olympics, she went there and she didn't even have her own bicycle. She has borrowed from the Germans.
Yes, and then there was this lady, this Nigerian that wanted to compete in the shot put, and I don't know what really happened, but there was this controversy, and she had to go to the US. She has dual citizenship. She had to compete under the USA, and she won a bronze medal. So Nigeria lost that medal.
We lost that bronze.
So Francis has said it all. Our performance so far has not been very impressive. Well, I must congratulate Tobi Amusan. She has been doing quite well for herself and for the country. I'm super proud of her. And just like the Tigress coach said, Rena Wakama, she said the country needs to invest in basketball. And not just basketball, every other sports out there. Nigeria has to invest in it. And then our officials need to be transparent, because you've had some of the athletes come out to say that even after such competitions, they don't get their pay. And their welfare packages are so terrible. So the country really needs to look at investing in the sport and encouraging the athletes to do more. And then in schools, we need to see schools training children for sporting activities. It's not just about teaching them in the classrooms. We need to see students who are, the children are gifted, but sometimes they don't have the environment to thrive.
Yes.
So we need to see these things happen in schools. We
Someone
want
said
to see
that
swimming classes, we want to
if
see...
the government if government and like people in the early part of society gave out more scholarships, not just people that are like very smart, intellectually smart, but people that are also doing well in
sports.
Yes. Schools will be more interested in building facilities and training their students more. That's what America and other countries do.
If you watch American movies, you always hear of the
from
football team, the captains.
Draft.
That is what we want to see in the country, really. Children would love to go to school. It will become more fun. It will become more exciting to go to school.
I love what Blessing said. I wanted to stop talking, but when you talk about schools, it just clicked, that light bulb. I'm concerned about schools, really. What we are doing lately is a sham. And I'm saying a big stop it to private schools at that primary level. What they do, what they call inter-house sports, look like a poetry recitation activity. You just see the children having this kind of fun. I want children to have fun, but a fun of no consequence, a fun of nothing else, but just mental stimulation, nothing more than that. You're not developing anybody. You're just making them run around and play and have ice cream and make their parents dress well. But this is not the point. When Nigeria worked in the sporting area, it reflected on our inter-house sports competition. Everything started to change when inter-house sports started to turn to some kind of carnival. Not a bad thing. But then the focus should be on grooming young talents. That should not be overlooked. Indeed, if we must get it right, we must get it right at the grassroots level. And this also called on private investors. Even the country can also try to make people really invest in that area. Grooming young sportsmen and women. We don't have the Saudi Arabia money where we can begin to bring some big dogs in terms of the sporting world and letting them play for our country. But what we can do is to bring people who can teach at the grassroots level. If we even begin to export sports athletes from this country, it will generate so much for us, resources. It's going to help us in the global world as well. Music is the only thing that's working in Nigeria. So far, so good.
Yeah, and the parents need to look away from pushing the children to school and just only asking them to come back home with good grades. If your child has a talent, learn to nourish that talent. Because I remember this very prominent Nigerian athlete, Divine Odujuru, was in my school, my secondary school, and it was sponsored by the Delta State government. So we really need to give kudos to the Delta State government. They support their athletes as well. So he was in my school, and then now he is doing great wherever he is in the world. So parents should actually learn to nurture their children and help them out if they have that talent.
Really get a lot of Messi out of those children.
So now let's move on to our next trend. hashtag xenophobia, hashtag South Africa. So Chidima Vanessa Adesina was trending because was asked to withdraw from this Miss South Africa following controversy surrounding her mother's citizenship. So she was born to a Nigerian father and a South African mother, and she was born and raised in South Africa. And then she decided that okay, I grew up in this place, so I want to go for Miss South Africa.
Yeah.
But South Africans found a problem with it, with our Nigeria heritage, and said that she should not qualify. So let's quickly read some of the tweets and see what Nigerians have to say about this. Someone said, South Africans are desperately doing a witch hunt against Chidima Adesina, and their government has stepped into to back them. They don't even try to hide their xenophobia again. This is a bad and disgusting image for the entire Africa. Someone else said, if Adesina was white, the story would be different. Many undocumented and fraudulent Europeans and Chinese.
How many undocumented?
How many undocumented and fraudulent Europeans and Chinese do we have in South Africa, representing South Africa on local and international competitions? Black people are hated everywhere, worse by their fellow blacks. The next tweet said, Nigerians are upset about South African xenophobia, yet some are questioning why an Igbo girl is driving a train in Lagos. The hypocrisy is thick enough to make Pando yam. The next tweet said, it's on record that Nigeria spent $61 billion to fight for South Africans' freedom. These xenophobia South Africans are the ones working harder than the devil to hurt Chidima and her family because of her father's Nigeria origin in a competition where 9 contestants have no roots in Africa.
Okay. Yeah, that last part got me because I was going to say that it's not my business what South Africa chooses to do with their country. Not my business, really. You know, I want to be, let's be united, but at the same time, it's not my business.
Yeah.
Because even if you check foreign policy, the Nigerian government most time make Nigeria the center of their foreign policy, so it means we have to be selfish a little bit. But then knowing that, you know, South Africans will allow other countries to compete and have a problem with Nigeria is where I have a problem with. However, familiarity breeds contempt. And part of the reason I'm saying that is because Nigerians have been fleeing this country too much. Not their fault, but the exodus is compelling. Now we have too many Nigerians in other countries, taking over these countries because we are so blessed intellectually. And most of those in foreign countries, this is not just about South Africa. Ireland, I think, had a problem with Nigerians in Ireland. At some point, they were screaming that Nigerians should leave their country. They are losing their jobs. They are losing their schools. They claim there were more crimes. But you know, when a Nigerian man steps into an environment, observes the environment, he owns that environment. And countries are not feeling comfortable with Nigeria. It's a reflection of what we have in the country. When we were indeed giants of Africa, in terms of our economy and our pride, countries were proud to associate with the Nigerian people. It meant that you could travel anywhere in the world if you wanted to, not because you were compelled to by the economic realities, be devil in the country. But you could travel anywhere, and that country would honor you, knowing full well that you're a Nigerian. And if you get angry, you take your bags and return to your country and have a better life. But now they know. Just like you have a house help from, back then we were having house help when it was okay. You can have a house help from a particular very remote village, and she comes to your house. Most times you find some guardians maltreating these house helps, knowing very well they're not comfortable. In reverse, when you have a friend's daughter come to your house, and you know that they live in Lagos, you know that was a city, and it was working well, you would not be mean to them. Because you know that if they return home, they often get some form of better treatment in their home than you could ever give. So that is really the kind of shameful situation we are in Nigeria. I understand how terrible South African xenophobia is, and I do not encourage it at all. But I think that we must first of all fix our home to get a better treatment outside Nigeria.
Still, we have to still speak up about what the South Africans are doing. I followed this story, and trust me, if she was in that competition to the end, she was likely to win that beauty pageant. She was likely to win, and that's the reason why they're just against the girl. Now, her father is a Nigerian, her mother is a South African. She was born in South Africa. She has lived her life in South Africa. Francis, she's a South African. They're just being bitter people. If my mother is from a particular place and I was born there and I've lived my life there, automatically I am a full citizen of that place. I don't just understand what is happening, really. But like Francis said, maybe we should look at our home and look at how to how to make our home better so that people would respect us. But at the same time, to me, I can't even justify this, like Francis is trying to, because you're trying to say it's because, oh, we're no longer the giant of Africa and all of that. But we have people, we have Nigerians who, their father is Nigerian, their mother is maybe British, and their mother is from any part of the country. And they're respected in that place. They are seen as, being from that country. But South Africa, they just hate us. But I'm glad that she willingly pulled out of the competition. Let her just leave, and we pray that she gets a bigger platform to showcase her
just to address
beauty.
there's no justification for what the South Africans are doing.
Yeah.
I want to make that one clear. But I'm just concerned about fixing my own corner before I talk about their corner, because our problem is just too much.
She's part of that corner too. That's what I'm saying. She's South African.
She's South African,
Francis.
though. But
She's South African.
when you talked about
and then that last tweet said they have about 9 other contestants
Yes.
that have no origin in South Africa.
in my opening statement,
She's more qualified than the 9 others.
My opener to the conversation was I was concerned about the last tweet. It made me understand how terrible they were or they are in South Africa. But then let me mention something about how you can have a British Nigerian.
Yes.
And they accepted in Nigeria. You just said the British. That's the point I'm trying to make. If you are from a reputable country, there was a time in Nigeria where Ghanaians...
Is British not
There was a
reputable?
time in Nigeria where Ghanaians were not treated right. In fact, it was so big that the sack we carry now is called Ghana Must Go. We're saying Ghana leave our country because it was an invasion of the Ghanaian people in Nigeria, and that was because Ghana was not functioning well. If your country does not function well, and your people keep running, they'll be victims. Like Chidinma now is a total victim. She's a South African, just as you said.
You know how many
She's suffering
celebrities?
because of the image of
In
Nigeria.
these Olympics now, we see a lot of blacks
Yes.
that are running for Great Britain, running from America. But they are actually Nigerians with no roots in America or this thing. They were born in Nigeria, raised in Nigeria. Maybe they over some time they went there and then they started running for these countries. But they are accepted fully as citizens of these countries.
Because the country would gain something from them and not lose anything.
Would South Africa not
Let
gain
me explain
from having
let me explain
such a
something.
beautiful young lady as a beauty
When it
queen?
comes to beauty pageant competition, it's an internal competition.
being
They're not
insecure.
competing against other countries. If we had an athlete from Nigeria, if Chidinma was, let's say, for instance, Chidinma was a footballer, and she was representing the Bafana, I don't know what they call their women, and somehow she is going as big as Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi, they would claim her to be their own. It happened with Anthony Joshua. He was described as an ex-criminal in the first report, but when he began to win the world championship, it was now called the British Nigerian. It's just like that. When the country say you are gaining something for them, they would accept you. When they say that you are gaining something for yourself at the expense of your own, in quotes, fellow countrymen and women, they become against. They go
Shame
against
on
you.
them.
But the point, there's shame on them. But the point is, while we are crying about what South Africa is doing, this country should be fixed because Chidinma is a big victim. There are other times when we see Nigerians who had, fled the country, born in Nigeria, representing and trying to compete against, other people in that country, and then they're treated with some form of hostility. It's almost understandable that those are strangers per se, but this person has been in South Africa, has a South African mother, but just because of her name, she's treated wrongly. The point is that we
I
have
have
to
a
fix our
question
country,
straight to
notwithstanding.
people now.
Okay.
One of the comments was about that, like what Francis is saying, was about that this is happening now. Someone said that Nigerians are being hypocritical of South Africa, but they are doing the same thing.
We hate
in
ourselves too,
Lagos.
yeah. Just like the hashtag Igbo must go. Like that tweet said that blacks do it to other blacks.
Yeah.
Nigerians do it to Nigerians as well, and that the hypocrisy is thick enough to make pound yam.
But
It is true.
let me say something. Humans are evolved animals. We are better animals and greater animals. We are from animals. They said science said we are from apes. Monkeys.
That's what science says. That's not what my Bible says.
I'm coming. I'm driving
That's
somewhere.
not what my Bible says,
They
Francis.
say, I'm coming. I'm driving somewhere. They say we've evolved into being humans, being intelligent. If you observe, the more intelligent an animal is, the more hospitable the animal becomes. That's why you find the most wild animals being territorial.
So you're saying white men are not
I'm saying that
are not
the
wise.
reason you find
They're not knowledgeable.
when you find people being more receptive, that shows a greater level of civilization for their part. When they are more hostile, they are still living in that animal kingdom, I mean territorial.
And so the whites are
So
also
South Africans
animals too.
have been acting like animals. and
White,
those
men, white men who engaged in slave trade were animals too.
they were animals too. Those white men who are racist are animals too. Those people in Lagos who were saying Igbo must go are animals too. The moment you refuse to be civilized enough to be receptive of other people and not be territorial, you are still trying to struggle from being a chimpanzee 1A.
Okay, I totally agree if that's the angle you're coming from, because
that's what
it's really sad. And then Nigerians too, we really need to stop it. What's happening in Lagos State? One thing about me is when an issue comes up, I begin to see the bigger picture of it. And if I always say, if this is not nipped in the bud, it will escalate and it will become something that will become a big issue in the near future. So the Lagos State government has to, if they really, really, really don't want Lagos State to become a battleground, then they have to do something as soon as possible to stop that. Lagosians should stop feeling insecure, because when I hear of this, like South Africans, they're just feeling insecure that she was going to win the pageant. So Lagosians should stop being insecure and stop thinking that the Igbos are going to come and take over Lagos. No matter what happens, no matter how many billionaires we have in Lagos State will be Lagos State. It will never be an Igbo land. So they should relax.
Okay. So our next trend is #Area Mama, and basically the Abuja crossdresser termed Area Mama was beaten to death by unknown men. His body was discovered lifeless in the streets of Abuja. The police have not issued any statement about this murder case, who's responsible for this crime. Does any life not matter in Nigeria? When you see something, please say something. Nobody is saying anything about his sudden demise. I could not include the graphics because it was just something that shouldn't be seen by people. So I'll quickly read through the tweets. Someone said, "Whoever killed that Area Mama, God is watching you. That was so necessary because that guy bothers no one for real." Someone else said, "Area Mama was just hustling. If you listen to his stories, then you will know that he had been suffering right from childhood. He didn't deserve to die this way." Someone else said, "I don't know that Abuja Area Mama, but I find it disturbing that some people actually justified his gruesome death. The fact that he believes in LGBTQ doesn't mean he deserves to be killed unjustly. If you can justify his death, you are actually capable of killing random people."
Okay. I have mixed feelings about this. One, I am so sad that he was killed. No one has a right to take anybody's life. But then I'm disturbed at this trend of cross-dressing. It's really disturbing. And then our security agencies have the fact that the government has to take a side. They really have to take a side if they're going to let this continue or not. If they're not going to let it continue, they should start arresting them. I had this argument with Ogaga on this side. Ogaga said that there's no clause in the Constitution that's against cross-dressing. The Constitution is against homosexualism, lesbianism, and all of that, but there's nothing against cross-dressing. But we know that most of these cross-dressers are gays. They're gay. So the government has to take a stand, because I'm going to have children someday, and I don't want my children growing up to see these things, to see cross-dressers and think that it's okay, because the whole world is beginning to act like this is normal and this is okay. Growing up as a child, I never saw such things like this, and now it's like a norm. You're walking on the street, you're seeing men act like women, men dress like women. I don't want my children to grow up to see these things, because now even our cartoons, the cartoons that we have for children, are trying to teach children that it's okay for you to love your fellow man or to love your fellow girl. I just want this to stop, because it's not who we are as a people. So the government has to look at this and try to look for a way to put an end to this. But killing anyone because they believe in the LGBTQ is totally wrong. You have no right whatsoever to even harass them to start with. You have no right to treat them like they don't matter. They're humans as well. They're going through their own issues. They have their internal battles they're fighting with, because for me, when I see such people, I feel like they don't know who they are. They don't believe in who they are. They don't believe in who God created them to be. So it's a mental issue for me. Don't kill them. Don't harass them. Let them be until the law enforcement agencies would say, okay, we are against this. Let's arrest these people. Let's put a stop to it. So that's just my take.
Okay. Very sad story. Very sad. Seeing somebody lose their life because of supposed discomfort. First of all, I don't want to say it's cast in stone that he was killed because he's a cross-dresser. We don't even know what really transpired. So that's left for the police to investigate and find out what might have transpired. There might even have been money issue, back and forth issue, might have been business going wrong. Anything could have caused that. You know, it might have not been exactly because you're a cross-dresser. But what is very troubling to me, like one of those tweets said, are those who justify the death based on the perspective of that individual, which is about cross-dressing or homosexuality or lesbianism. Let me add, devil worshipping. It's not your business to kill somebody because of their belief. And if you're doing that because your belief system doesn't accept that, negates a particular style, then your belief system is demonic. Because all belief system encourages the concept of living. There's none that accepts killing people at all. Not even Islam, that people like to attribute such negative images to. They don't. If you read the Quran, you see that Islam takes life sacredly. And if you stay in the north, you see that that's the mindset of the average Muslim. Christianity too, totally, in no way would accept you killing anybody. Our traditions that we practice does not encourage you to kill people like that. So, you know, somehow, you are not even being a custodian of whatever belief system you're practicing by trying to justify the killing of someone because of their belief system. But as it may, I wouldn't even want Nigeria to react to what Blessing said, to begin to focus on, you know, cross-dressers and homosexuality.
So you don't think it should
let those matter be.
Really?
Let it be, really. The attention is too much on those issues. If you go abroad and you find out partly why they began to make laws to protect these people, it's because of this hatred that was stemming. They began to protect them by making many laws to protect them. Too much attention encourages a particular action.
Francis.
Really? Yeah, go ahead.
I read a book. You see what? In boarding schools, we're having high cases of homosexualism and lesbianism in boarding schools. It doesn't start from cross-dressing, really. These persons, they become gay before they start cross-dressing. So, Nigeria, we need to look at it. We're not even giving much attention to it.
We should not give it.
In the near future, we will have people who will be proud to be gays and lesbians.
There's no time for that.
Ask you a question that I'm sure don't mind a Blessing. Us giving no attention, we like make it to fade away.
Exactly.
Or give no attention.
Yeah.
I think we have more issues.
No, Francis, if we don't give it attention, will it make it fade?
I'm getting there. We have more issues in the country.
Dear Lord.
That we are trying to handle. I remember when they made the whole law against homosexuality in Nigeria. It did not even it didn't play out well for Goodluck Jonathan. No, it didn't play out for Goodluck Jonathan. There are grapevines and rumors that was what necessary to his, you know, to the fact that he was brought down as president of Nigeria. There are grapevines, rumors around their palace, which, you know, anybody who's into information and communication knows that rumors could have a little spice of truth in it. So sometimes it's just unnecessary. That's the point I'm trying to make. We have issues in Nigeria. We pay too much attention to these things, it becomes order of the day. If you ask pilots, they tell you something about some kind of rules for pilots. They don't say do not do this. Because when you say do not do this, the human mind is now flared up to try to do that. You try that in children, say do not touch that ball. They go touch that ball because they want to find out. The attention is too much. There is no law against cross-dressers. As we begin to make all those rules and regulations, they will now go to our theater artists who are doing drama in school and cross-dressing or cross-dressing just to do a play. And you say, no, they are doing a play. The same way those drag queens are performing. Let them be. Part of the reason people are even doing all this cross-dressing is because of poverty. There are many men who will not be women or dress like women, but because the country is too poor, they're looking for content. It still goes back to the level of the poverty in the country. Maybe if we nip poverty in the bud, and Nigeria is self-sufficient enough to, like Saudi Arabia and the rest of them, that can now speak against things like this. Saudi Arabia and some of these Muslim countries who have, you know, so much economic balance will say no to a movie, and nothing happens to them because they have their own integrity, they have their own space as a country. If we have our space as a country, if we begin to sit upright as the giant of Africa, we can begin to say, no, we're not accepting this. Well, now we
have children,
keep our mouth shut.
No, we should ignore them.
So wait,
no, Francis.
Wait, so
having a discussion in the next 10 years.
When we are financially buoyant, that we can speak against device.
I don't know what Francis.
Your country lives perpetually by borrowing money from this country.
And that is the reason why they're not speaking up against these things. They're not speaking up against this because
There are two things
the
involved.
foreign countries are
Do we
trying
survive?
as much as possible to make this
eat?
country accept
Do we
it.
eat?
Look at the
Do we feed or do we
common
die?
agreement that they almost signed until the legislative told them to put a hold on it, because that agreement, I don't even know what that agreement entails, but there were speculations that that agreement is tilting towards accepting LGBTQ. Francis, as a country, society,
LGBTQ should be
we
accepted.
have
I don't
our
care.
values.
We should survive first.
You don't care.
Because now, if you look at the global
First, you
world,
don't care.
look at the global
But
world.
I'm telling you, you will care because you have children. Your children are going to grow up to see these things. And it is hard these days for children not to bow to peer pressure. I'm disturbed about my children. Me as an adult, I already have my life, so I can say no to anything. But your children who are going to grow up tomorrow to see these things, it's going to be hard for you to really tell them that this is wrong. It's going to be hard to explain, because when they watch movies, they read books, and they see these things, they see people acting this way, then you
I've seen
why we should
Nigerians
put an end
in
to
the
it.
US who've trained their children, and the children, despite all the talk about LGBTQ, they don't have phobia. Is the word I'm looking for, homophobia, but they will never indulge.
The fight is just starting,
because
Francis.
the
It's just starting.
parents have been doing a great job.
Francis,
do
you
your
think it's
job
about
at
the
home.
parents?
Yes, I've seen parents who are intentional. Do your job at home, talk to your children,
There's
be
some
friends with
parents-
your children, be leaders of your children,
I
and
agree.
your children will grow up the way, according to the
Francis,
scripture, train up a child the way he should grow, and when he's old.
Francis, I agree, but there are still parents who do their best and the children turn out to be
But you see,
worse.
when we begin to say the federal government, should put a ban on things like this, then we begin to have people who are becoming more aggressive. We begin to see cases
Even
like that.
parents who do
People
their job very
justifying
well are
things
crying
like that.
out that the government should do something about it, Francis. The fight is just starting. It hasn't started. It hasn't started.
The
though.
first fight Nigeria is fighting.
It hasn't started.
The first fight-
It's not even about Nigeria.
That's
It's
the
not
fight
about
Nigeria is
Nigeria
fighting.
now.
Because talking about Nigeria, making that a law. The first fight we are fighting here, blessing. You should survive from this hunger.
All right then.
The protest is end bad governance.
It's fine.
End hunger.
It's
And
okay.
someone that's hungry, not trying to
Francis.
dress like a woman to eat food.
Why are these
Say
guys
dress
going to the
dress-
street?
Wait,
This
just
area
like-
mama that was killed.
Francis.
Where
I don't
was he
mind.
killed? No, hold on. The area mama that was killed. Where was he killed? What was he doing when he was killed? He's out there hustling. Hustling for what? Using his body to get
No,
money.
but you cannot
You're
say,
talking about hunger.
for sure, blessing, that this man has ever used his body
Who cannot say for sure?
to make money. What he has been doing is to dress. What we know he's doing is to
Francis,
dress
you
like a
dress
woman.
at night.
Blessing. If I'm
Francis,
why
let me
you
say
dressing
this
at
before-
night?
I have a question. Are you justifying using these means to make money?
Okay, thank you, because I was driving that. I want to use myself as a good example. Francis Ofuluwe, if I was dying and I needed to dress like a woman, I needed to do my fingers this way and get some form of living, blessing by all means, I would wear your blouse. I would use your Mary Kay,
Francis,
and I would beg you
don't-
for your wig,
don't
so
say
I
it's a
can eat
life
food
thing.
and survive. That's what I'm
No.
saying.
This is
Now
not about
Nigerians are
dressing. You and
hungry.
I know that
They
this
are
is not
saying,
about
"You guys don't
dressing.
wear female
You and
clothes."
I know we're not children
And we're
here.
female
For
clothes.
someone
Why
to
is it
dress
that
up
all
in
women
that
make
way and
money?
go out at night,
What if
you
that-
and I,
what
we
if-
know what that person is going out
In
to do.
Nigeria, you know other ways to make money. How many ways have we been trying? Do you know how many jobs many of us do, and yet we don't eat properly? Do you know how many jobs many of us do, and we can't even
First,
go
you're
out
justifying-
and sit
you're
around
justifying
with
this.
people?
You're
What I'm saying
justifying
is
this
that
lifestyle.
we cannot say
You're
that
justifying-
that man
I can say
is gay. You can't.
We
there's
can
no,
say
there's no proof.
we're in Nigeria.
There's no
We
proof.
know for
The law
someone
says-
to dress
the law
up that
says
way and go out at
innocent
night.
until proven guilty.
Are you going to watch a football match?
Maybe was going to perform.
But
Perform where?
doesn't
A
that
drama queen, drag queen,
doesn't that
they perform.
make
That's what
people
they perform.
see?
Performance.
What
I
I'm
just
trying to
say-
say, what I'm trying to say is that
Yes.
if someone tries it and it works for them, dressing like this cross dressing now, if someone tries it and it works for them, maybe that is quickest way to make money. So are you trying to say that okay, your children and other people's children should also take like that lesson, and also if maybe something doesn't work for them, like the right type of job doesn't work for them, they should quickly shift to that.
So what I'm saying is that the federal government of the country should focus.
So you
more.
don't agree on the
Should
question?
focus.
I
I'm
asked
coming.
you?
I'm driving it. To
Yeah.
focus more on trying to eliminate hunger. If we are like Saudi Arabia, I just talked about Saudi Arabia.
This is not about
I'm
hunger.
coming. They stopped a movie, an Avengers movie, from showing their cinemas, and nobody coughed in the Western world. If Nigeria dares that, they would smash this country like a tennis ball, and we'll be begging them after all. If we don't hold our own first, we can't be able to talk about these issues properly. The most important thing is Nigeria should be sophisticated, self-reliant. If you have not fed well, would you not start screaming at your neighbor who is eating well, who is giving you food? We've not eaten well. These countries have been crying to push in LGBTQ. Fix your country first. A smart man eats first before he goes to fight. If my son is in Nigeria, you were talking about my child, right? If my son is in this country and hungry, wants to kill him, and he has tried all the tricks, he's done 3 jobs like many of us are doing, right? Many of us do 4 jobs, not 2. 4 jobs and we're not feeding. And my son says, I would dress like a woman to eat food, and I can't find any alternative for him. I would cry. But by all means, I'll allow my son eat and survive. That's what I'm just saying.
Okay. This thing that you said now about like us working 4 jobs, you know that it also happens in Western countries. In America, we're watching movies.
Countries
you
that
see
we
them.
hold in high
You
they
see
still
them,
go
you
through that
see
thing.
them, you see their
And it's not
parents
about
that are
them, it's
white.
about your
Did you
value.
know
That
that?
are white. They are also working for
Let's talk about America. Let's talk about America.
This, yeah.
If you go to the US and you go to college and you study an average course, you want to do one job, you will survive properly. People who do that are those who did not go to college,
How come?
doing different jobs to survive.
Wait.
But those who are practicing professional, many Nigerians
Well,
have BScs and MScs and are doing 4 jobs. Do you know how many
How
degrees
come
one has
in
acquired
Great
and has to do 4
Britain,
jobs
for example,
to
now,
survive?
in Great Britain now, they have one of the lowest rate of living in Great Britain.
But they live.
But that's
They
in
can,
Western
they can
country.
still purchase food items. Food is the cheapest thing in Great Britain. One of the cheapest things to get is food. One of the most expensive things now is food in Nigeria. You can't even go out and chill with the boys anymore. Do you know people now avoid friends because they can't even have a bottle of something talking. They can't even get soda. Talk more of beer. So the country is going through a whole lot. In that Britain and America you've spoken about, if you go to college, which is Nigeria university, and you're practicing what you've studied, you will do one job and you survive and you will grow properly. Even as a civil servant. I have an uncle there who's a civil servant. He's doing one job. It's not so comfortable, but he can feed well and take a little something, not even enough to the family. So that's the
Now
problem with
this
Nigeria.
carries us to our next trend. Hashtag Dambello. So Dambello, he made a video and he captured it. Solumbo's money laundering scheme. I watched the video. The video I cannot play because it's quite long. It's like over 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes. It was sharp breaking down how much is our annual budget here in Nigeria. That is 28 trillion naira. And then it broke down how they used more than half of that. They used 15 trillion naira to make the Lagos Calabar highway. So that is more than half of the annual budget just for one highway. And they said, okay, that even if they were to do this, the remaining 14 or remaining half of the annual budget, if they actually utilize it, it will be enough to give over 250 tractors or equipment to each local government in Nigeria, enough for surplus food, enough to pay salaries, enough to build state-of-the-art equipment, enough to build well-equipped hospitals, primary schools. So when he broke it down, people saw that Nigeria's money is not being utilized in any way. Let's quickly read some of the tweets about what Nigerians have to say. We have talked about Bashar El-Rufai before. That was, I think, 3 weeks ago. And he came out and tweeted on this post. He said, I'm a fan of Dambello, but I think he should take it easy. And a lot of people had negative reactions to saying that, oh, because of the saying truth about what your father and other politicians do, or because of you don't want to expose the truth. Someone else came out and said, Dambello, kindly get in touch with an Igbo and Yoruba voiceover translators because the video is in purely Hausa, but there are captions who are trustworthy. You just send the format of your content, both past and current. They translate and upload to give this message a wider audience. I can volunteer for Yoruba. Someone else said, Tolumbu budgeted 15 trillion naira for only one highway. That's over 60% of our entire budget for only one highway. Dambello, thank you for this. Now we know our government have deliberately put us in hunger and poverty. And our last tweet read, the damage Dambello is going to inflict on Tinubu in northern Nigeria is going to be massive. His outreach on WhatsApp statuses across millions of WhatsApp users in northern Nigeria is unbelievable. Southwest propaganda machines don't jam their Pro Max. What's our blessing?
I would not like to talk much on this. We all know. I don't know if everybody knows, but I know that the issues we have in this country, majorly, is corruption, lack of transparency, and greed. we will see a situation where a road needs to be done. The contracts will be given to a politician. So he owns the contract, and he gets someone to do the contract. I don't know if you understand.
Yes.
They share these contracts among themselves. Like you hear that, oh, this politician, this vice, or this minister is in charge of this contract, and then he gets a contractor of his choice to do the road. So sometimes you see these projects not completed, and then nobody can speak, nobody can cough, nobody's going to say anything. The president won't be able to say
Speaking
anything.
of what you just
The
said
governor will
now,
not be able to say anything because
speaking of what you just said now,
yeah.
in this video, you also said that this contract, this 15 trillion naira highway contract, was awarded to one of Tinubu's friends and someone that helped in Abacha's looting of Nigerian money to foreign accounts.
That's what I'm telling you. So
A convicted foreign
when
criminal.
a project is not done, when Nigerians are asking why is this project not done, why is it taking 30 years, why is it taking 15 years to do this project, the president can't say anything. In our states, the governors cannot say anything because the person that was awarded that contract is someone that they cannot go against. So I really don't want to talk much about this. When our politicians are ready to really make things work in this country, they know exactly what to do, but they won't do it because corruption has eaten deep, so deep into us.
Do you think that change will
And
start
then
from
I look at our legislature; they're no
group
different.
of
The judiciary,
politicians?
that what?
Do you think that change can start from this group of politicians?
The change?
Yes.
No, you can't start from this group of politicians. I'm so sorry. You can't. When our politics is being funded, when they tell you that to buy a form is 100 million, what do you expect? Yes, that's what they sold the APC form for.
Okay.
100. So let's just forget
I
it.
wouldn't blame the young
Let's forget
man,
it.
even though that I find what some of the things he's saying a little bit contradictory to the budget,
I don't
the
know.
27.5 trillion naira budget. And we saw the breakdown many times here on TV, and it was broken down to different areas. So I wonder how that could be for only the
I don't know if that
budget
is
stuff.
true, really,
That
yeah.
doesn't sound real enough. It's so contradictory to. It's not even possible because other ministries and areas would clamor for what they were supposed to take, which was said on national TV. So whatever he's saying is not exactly justifiable, and you cannot hold that as word of marble. However, I would not blame him. That's what I said earlier on. I again blame the federal government because if they were functioning properly, they will not have this kind of loopholes and lacuna. And what we are seeing also might be, let's talk about some of the issues bedeviling the country. One other issue is nepotism that can come up, tribalism and stuff like that. And people who have said that our northern brothers are angry because somehow they want to take back power. They don't mind getting military to do that, to represent them.
Do they have power?
That might be true or not true. But the point is that, if the federal government would function properly, when things like this come up, it will be rejected. Even amongst those from the northern region who are properly educated and not tied to some of the nepotistic behavior of their kingsmen. So let the government do its job, and this kind of things will be nipped in the bud. And also, I think they should go for this boy. Get him, and let him talk to them properly. Yeah, properly.
Talk to who?
Talk to them properly.
Talk to who?
Let them have a proper rapport.
Talk
You
to
see the
who?
lawmaking chambers, you see the executive,
Francis,
sit
talk to
down
who?
with this man and talk to him on national TV. Let
Are
him
you
approve his point.
serious?
Because first of all, two things are involved. What he's spreading here could be very false. That's one of the things we're alluding to. It could be very, very false. And as false as it is, it could also be right. If you arrest him because of what he has said, then you are trying to, it's as though you're suppressing truth. But if you bring him to prove himself beyond reasonable doubt, or prove himself at all, then maybe you can raise your head up high. And whatever action you are going to take will now be justifiable for the people.
Francis, you didn't hear the point where I said lack of transparency is what we're battling.
Well, I
with
was
in
trying to
this
talk
country.
about
That will never
institutions could
happen.
work
Call the
properly.
young man talking. It will never happen. Let's just forget it.
Institution
Okay.
could work properly.
Let's move on to our next trend.
Oh.
Hashtag Oshomole. So Oshomole was trending because this morning, yesterday, it was live at Arise TV where it said the protest isn't about hunger and its demands are unreasonable and totally political. It defended Tinubu's speech and called Aswa Igodalo a fraud who can't speak his language or sleep in. So we're going to be stopping there.
Yeah.
But I watched this interview with Oshomole, and the question they threw to him was, we know that this is not a faceless protest, and we know that the government know who the organizers of the protest are, but what have they done about it? And then to me, I feel like it slightly ignored the question because he started talking about something else. So he went on to say that you're only objective to the extent that you're not aware of your own biases and that no one can fully judge something. And then even went on to say that, oh, Tinubu is not sleeping, that he made these promises and gave us a timeline, that this is just like 1 year. And that how long did it take Tinubu to actually set up Arise TV? Even when Tinubu told him that, he said Tinubu told him like there when he wanted to set up Arise TV. And he was like, this is not ideal, that how we go up against CNN and all those other big TV stations. But yeah, Arise TV is booming, in his own words. It's doing well and it's very highly competitive. So Nigerians, they're like, this man, you came online to see, you came on live to say a lot of things that won't make sense to us. Because he even said that he was not involved in the protest against Goodluck Jonathan. So someone said, my dear people, if you look closely to Oshomole's name, one thing comes to mind that's synonymous with thief. Just spell Oshomole and remove the OMH in the middle, and you're left with Oshi, which is thief, and Ole, and that word for thief. So that's why Oshomole loves money and stealing. Someone else said, if Black and Propaganda was an Olympic event, Adams Oshomole would have won a medal with his performance on the air yesterday. Osho is a legend in lies, propaganda, hypocrisy ate all over his life. And someone else said, Adams Oshomole said he was part of the hashtag Occupy Nigeria protest against President Goodluck Jonathan's government on Arise TV. Ha! Oshomole, and person brought out proofs about him beside Wole Soyinka during the protest then. And someone else said, Adams Oshomole starts way back with so much integrity. But over the years, you can see the literal trade of integrity for peanuts. He can boldly articulate the truth publicly, knowing that he said, if you join the APC, your sins are forgiven.
Okay. Well, it's what you expect from those at the helm of affairs in Nigeria. They always defend their principle. We've not seen anyone who's come around to say, I don't think what I'm finding is good enough. I've tried to advise the president, he never listened. But I think that the people, no, they always support their principle. That's what you see from them. So that is just something that is so predictable. So if I can predict a man, I don't even respect the fact that I don't expect him to do anything differently. That being said, I think that people should not underestimate Nigerians in finding out truth. The pictorial evidence was there to show that he was part of that protest, and when Goodluck Jonathan removed fuel subsidy and the rest of them, all this madness should stop. If you don't have anything meaningful to say, do not come around to try to air an opinion, and don't come to an interview with an already built mind on the questions, just saying them out like a robot. Listen to those questions and react accordingly. That's just my message. Nothing else, but I expected the man to say all that. I don't respect the fact that he has to do that, but then that's the reality of Nigeria.
These political actors do not have integrity. That we already know. They lie, and it's so sad that we don't have a way of holding them accountable in the country. The media, we've tried. We're always organizing these interviews, having interviews with them. They come, they lie to our face, and nothing is done. The judiciary and the legislature are supposed to be those arms that checkmate the executive, but they're not doing their job. So really, I look forward to a day where we would have some form of accountability in the country, where a political actor or an appointee comes to lie, and then immediately he's being held accountable and being made to face a panel or something.
Face some justice system. Yeah.
How can Oshomole come and deny that he didn't participate in that protest when there are pictorial evidence? It's just so sad, really. It's so sad. They don't have integrity. So when I see them lying, I don't feel bad anymore because I know they would always lie. Even the president can come up to say, what I said during my campaign is not what I meant. He'll twist it, and nothing will be done.
They don't surprise us anymore. We expect them to do. That's what they do. Defend their.
And it's really bad. It's really bad because what's happening at the helms of affairs, what's happening at the federal level, it's reflecting in our society, the way the youth think. You hear young people who's going into politics. They're going into politics not because they have the mind to change the country or change their state. They're just going there because it's a way to it's not like
a poverty alleviation program.
Probably being poverty. It's
wealth
like,
creation program.
Yeah, it's like
personal
a career.
Wealth creation
program. Like a career. You're going there to make money. It's really sad.
Personal wealth creation program.
Like a reporter here in DBS said something. He said after listening to the president's speech, he just went to church to pray because only God can help us now. Only God.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's X-Trend program. I'm so glad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
It
so
was
much.
very, very insightful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
very, some of them were quite annoying to me, but what can you do?
Yes. So, stay tuned to next week's X Trend. Remember, I'm your host and ex-girl, Tigara J. See you next week.